Before Mr. Macy begins, we just have two things, two resolutions to pass. So the first one is the board today received Trustee Negron's resignation. So whereas Mr. Negron submitted his resignation from the Patchogue-Medford Union Free School District's District Board of Education to the district clerk on March 9th, 2026, with such resignation effective immediately. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby acknowledges Mark Negron's resignation from the District Board of Education effective Monday, March 9th, 2026. Would I have a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We thank Mark for his service and we'll hopefully wish him the best of luck. The second one is we are going to approve a letter that was brought to our attention by students and Generation Citizens that needs to be approved by March 11th. And it's whereas the Board of Education hereby authorizes the letter of support for the Town of Brookhaven TAP application, which will support the proposals of sidewalks, pedestrian crosswalks, and traffic light signals along Buffalo Avenue for pedestrian and student safety. Can I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
All in favor? All right, passes. Now, thank you, everyone, and I will turn now the meeting over to Mr. Macy.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Budget Workshop number 2. We're going to take you through this evening the areas of curriculum and instruction, all the various areas. There's a lot of material to cover, so without further ado, I'm going to get started. But just a quick note, I do want to tell you at the onset, spoiler alert, that I really want to tell you that I want to applaud the efforts of my colleagues seated to your right and seated behind me. Because when we talk about this being a collaborative process, I always talk about how this is not done by the three of us here. This is done top to bottom. And in November when I met with everybody, we issued a challenge saying, given the uncertainty of what the next few months would bring on multiple levels, and also given our historical increases over the last few years, where we had nearly double-digit increases 3 of the last 4 years, we issued that. And it's not about being frugal and about being cheap. It's about being smarter with your money. And these people here behind me and in front of me have done a marvelous job. So you're going to see that tonight on the slides. The slides will do the speaking for themselves. But I really wanted to call your attention to that, to show you, like I said, just how wonderful it is that we all work together here in this district. Just a quick overview. This is our second budget workshop. The next one will be on March 30th. We'll go through the staffing benefits, in-fund transfer, a bunch of other things, and we'll look to adopt the budget that night. And then the budget hearing is on May 7th. So we begin with our building budgets for the principals. This is a little bit different. I explain this every year, that the way we do this is an equity-based model, that we look to provide our principals with a budget based on the enrollment for their building, the anticipated enrollment for their building, and then we have caveats for the number of students that they have in the buildings with disabilities and or the number of English language learners. So that's why you might see fluctuations in the numbers. So you notice everyone's got a positive increase on their budget line with the exception of Bay and the high school, but that's how this is derived for the principal budgets. Certainly the academic directors have more latitude, and we're going to go through that right now, starting with Mr. Krakow, who comes out of the gate strong, showing that he's not increasing either the health or the phys ed budgets. Those are at zeros. And once again, just utilizing the monies that we've allocated and find that he can still maintain the programs for our students using the monies that have been afforded to him previously. On the side of athletics, you'll see a slight increase on intramurals there, but the ones I really wanted to highlight, and I did the same thing as usual, I highlight the rows that I think, just to call your attention to some of more significant changes, whether they be increases or decreases. But on the security lines at our secondary buildings, you'll recall at the beginning of the year, this is one of the superintendent's goals, to maintain our focus on the safety and security of our students and our spectators. And this is a continuation of his efforts in that regard, working in a collaborative way with Mr. Ahern to make sure that we are adequately staffed for our athletic events. Now moving on for the rest of the areas within the athletics budget, highlighted several lines at the top because even within there, it's not just the increases, but within it, some of the more notable things that I think the board and community would find interesting is for equipment. These purchases include new treadmills at all four of our secondary buildings. The final phase of outfitting the wellness center. This was a plan that we had come up with, I think it was 3 years ago when we did the retrofitting as part of our interfund. We moved downstairs with the wrestling room. We took apart the old wrestling room at Saxton on the first floor, turned it into a multi-purpose space. Now that's been done, the floor has been done, our maintenance crew's been involved, we've had a contractor, and now Mr. Kracko looks to outfit it with the fitness equipment. So you'll see that in there. And then additional spin bikes and new flooring at the multi-purpose fitness center at the high school. Moving down to the officials' fees, you'll see a $12,000 increase there. That's in line with the Section 11 contract in terms of the pay rate increases that we expect to see next year. And then finally, on the contractual line, there's a proposed increase there of just over $30,000. That is primarily attributed to the costs that are in line with the new RFP for our middle school athletic trainer and also our dance team's transition to a more competitive model. Overall, looking at a grand total for all of these areas of about $129,000 or 6.74% increase. He also has prepared the health services budget, which is largely flat. That is a total of, I'm sorry, I apologize. The $8,900 is there for the increase related to rising costs that we are receiving from our competitive bidding. We utilize multiple nursing agencies because we have to. We don't have one agency that can service all of our needs. We have multiple agencies, and that's where you see that roughly that $9,000 that we're expecting in accordance with the bids that we've been receiving. Now moving to the elementary English area. Ms. Werner took over this. As you may recall, this is our first year, and she told me in no uncertain terms she was not looking to do single-digit or double-digit increases. She told me she wanted to go for three digits, four-digit increases. She really wanted to jump off the board and, make my life interesting, is the way she coined the phrase. But I share this with you to tell you, to tell you that, in all seriousness, we're going to talk a lot about this throughout the evening. You'll see the lines that are highlighted are under textbooks. So we get textbook aid from the state. We have a certain dollar minimum that we need to hit in our expenditures in order to receive that maximum aid. We do this each and every year. Certain years, you may see this on the instructional services line if we don't know exactly where they're going to end up, but we'll always make sure we hit that number. We're never going to leave money on the table. But what the directors did, like I said, through this collaborative process amongst themselves with Ms. Marone, is to figure out how we think, like I said, the textbook money will be spent this year. So Ms. Werner has this in the English textbook area. That's where you see these increases. It's to introduce more proficient materials, to assist with phonics in the K-2 level, and then to provide authentic decodable text for our primary grade students, especially those in our dual language program. And just because she wanted to keep the trend going, she also increased on the textbook side for social studies, mentor text to support the new cross-contract with, Putnam BOCES for the social studies, English language arts curriculum. So she has a modest increase of $205,000 or 222.1%. And I believe she threw down the mantle when she did that. Just saying. So now we move to reading. And Ms. Moser and I were discussing this, and has really done an amazing job here. She's showing like a $46,000 decrease on this, on our budget in totality. And you're going to see a lot of red as we go through this presentation. That's why I said I really admire, like I said, what everyone has done here. And all kidding aside with Ms. Werner, like I said, you're going to see how this looks in totality. Did I mention she had a $200,000 increase? I just want to make sure that was, I didn't know if the mic picked that up. So on the reading side, Ms. Moser said she's going to implement the evidence-based literary instruction And what she's been able to do is decrease costs because it doesn't require us to use consumables. And the teacher licenses are also less than last year. So this is like, being smarter with our money, getting the same amount for instructional value, except doing it for less. And we look for those kinds of efficiencies throughout the business office, and now we're seeing that translate to our instructional side as well. Well done, Ms. Moser. On the secondary English side, now, Mr. Hanley has a couple of things here. A lot of red on there. You'll notice, like I said, I didn't highlight, but look at all the textbook money coming out of that code. I did highlight the one line, though, because I thought it was interesting when we talked about the travel and conference line. That's for new professional development opportunities for our staff. Those, some related to implementing effective vocabulary strategies, some about utilizing AI, some curriculum writing, and others for support of special education, and again, our English language learners. On the social studies side, under the contractual line, he was looking to reallocate funds from other areas, so other savings areas in the budget, to bring it into this code to account for other competitions, to afford our students further opportunities, some in New York City, including Generation Citizen and our Model UN competitions. And then in accordance with that, on the field trips line, there's an increase there to support, like I said, the transportation to these competitions. But in totality, he's looking at a $7,000 decrease, or negative 4%. Now moving to the library line, Ms. Lombardo, as similarly to Ms. Moser, has looking to decrease the route, but really on the periodicals, the savings is attributable to the purchase of more online versions of our books. So meeting students where they're at. Not everyone wants a paper novel. Some people prefer to read in a digital format. And this enables us to not only meet that need, but also enjoy savings at the same time, and also bring in more texts to boot. So she's looking at a modest decrease, but a decrease nonetheless, 4% on her budget. Now moving to elementary math, and Dr. Daly, she has some decreases there you see on the textbooks. That's what I mentioned as we continue our shift from textbooks from one area to another. But she does have the increase reflected on the science side, where we see the increases on both supplies and on our textbooks. This is for a one-year commitment to a new 6th grade science program, to see, like I said, how this could look for us in the future. So almost, if you will, almost quasi-pilot for this for the 6th grade students. This would represent, in essence, a total of $16,000, almost $17,000, or an 11% increase between the elementary math and science in totality. Now moving to the secondary math side, Mr. Stellato, we talked about this actually the past few years. He had a plan to replace all the graphing calculators, and it was a 3-year plan. So now you see the culmination of his efforts now. We've exhausted that. Last year was the last year that we did this, and now he's reflecting a $29,000 decrease on his budget because of this. And you'll see that there, really, that is the large driver for both math and science. Well done, Mr. Stellato. What he's removed is we increased that budget several years ago for graphing calculators. Yep. It went up a few years ago, yep, and now he's removing that out. Yeah, it was 84,000, is that correct, roughly? 20,000 per year for 3 years, yeah, but it was almost $90,000 for the 3-year plan. Now moving on to dual language, you'll see a $4,000 increase on the contractual line. This is a proposed increase for staff professional development. This is to provide additional sessions for our teachers to assist them. Now, and even with this in there, Ms. Cardenas is showing a $1,000 reduction on the DL budget. Her second half of her budget is the ENL and bilingual programs. And I highlighted the textbooks. Once again, you see the textbooks moving out of this. This is because we fully phased in the completion of the textbooks that we brought in. This is the ENIL. See, I can't even say that. She told me I can't say the Spanish version, because I don't roll my R's. I was prepared to say the extrura para la evaluación del nivel independiente de lectura. That's what I call it. And the IRLA programs that have been fully phased in over the past 2 years. This represents a nearly $16,000 increase or 38% reduction. Now moving on to our secondary for ENL and our world languages. Ms. Martinez-Fuentes has removed, basically, if you look, there's a shift there with the textbooks coming out of the foreign language codes and moving into the ENL codes. And despite this, she's still showing a decrease overall in totality on the two budget accounts. Yes. Well, this reflection of the cost is for the online, but I can let her answer the question. Is she here? Yes. So do we have? No, we do have textbooks, but I will let them answer. Could you hear her? She said it's a combination of paper and the online. Yes. Is that for every subject? Team? Right. Other academic areas, the same? Any further questions before we move on? Okay, now moving into the area of art and music. You'll see here an increase for the art textbooks, and this was the result of a meeting that Mr. Brinkman, Ms. Marone, and I had with this contractor who has a K-12 art curriculum. This one is fully web-based. It's got lessons aligned across all grade levels, but it includes skill-based activities, assessments, and instructional resources, including PD to improve teacher practices. That is the driver for the $35,000 increase. It's almost all in the textbook line. For art, as we move to music, you'll see a lot of red here too. Now there's a lot of reductions on our equipment line. So our equipment line that's our purchases of our instruments. But there's a new program available through Arts and Education, whereby we can purchase these instruments at a discount through our supplies codes. So the money that you see is, right now, it's just all allocated on the high school line. It is not going to the high school, it is for district-wide, but for us, for transactional purposes, it's easier to move it out of singular account code into Arts and Ed as opposed to doing it through 11 different codes. But the premise is that it's going to represent a savings for us, not just this year, but the plan is technically for 5 years out. We should be seeing these same kind of results as we bolster the number of instruments that we're able to bring in. So we'll be bringing in more instruments for the same dollars. And so overall, he's looking at just about a $4,000 decrease on the music line. And then on the co-curricular, you'll see a $7,500 increase on that particular line. That is for our travel and event fees, and that's for the biannual NAFME All Eastern Conference and the honor ensembles. Those occur every 2 years. And we want to support our students because that is a significant recognition for them to be able to attend this. This is the highest performing musical students in the whole Northeast. So the grand total for art, music, and co-curricular is just over $53,000, or an 8% increase. Now moving into the areas under CTE, starting with home and careers, you'll see that we've removed the roughly $3,000 out of there, so it's a zero budget. But the home and careers is no longer running. We have those monies now reallocated to the fashion design and merchandising, because that's where they're typically doing this kind of work. Now that we've introduced that program, you'll see that on the next slide, which I'll go to right now. So under, oh, I'm sorry, it's not the next slide, it's the one after this. This is technology education. You'll see a $16,000 increase on the supplies line for the high school. That is a proposal for additional drones to provide more students with hands-on programming and operating. But I do want to just put a little caveat out there. We did learn something recently. Ms. Simonello, Mr. Richroth, and I are going to meet with Ms. Bonacorsi to go through this, because there might be something we may have to readdress this in the next budget workshop with some information that we've learned. We may have to either adjust this up or down, depending on what we find out about these drones. So more to come on that, but at this point in time, it is included in this budget for tonight's presentation. And then as we move into the actual career and technical education portion, you'll see a $10,000 increase on our supplies and materials. Some of the ones I thought were more notable on the line that drove this particular increase were we need solid-state drivers for the computer technology and networking classes. We need additional practice hands in diverse skin tones. So this is for our students in cosmetology that are practicing manicures. And then we are looking to purchase large-scale mannequins for students in the fashion design and merchandising program. So the grand total for all these areas is just under $6,000, or about 2.5%. Now, as we move into guidance, Mr. Zaffrandino, this is a story he's been telling the last 2 years for sure, maybe even 3. He's been really scrutinizing this area. We talk about it each and every year, but he's really looking to reduce our AP testing line to get this more accurate. He's gotten decreases in rates, but really getting a better handle on the number of students that are in this line. So that's another $10,000 decrease, which you see is the big driver for that $12,000 overall decrease on his budget, just over almost 11% actually. Well done. On our summer school line, you'll see an $8,100 reduction. On the nurse line, since we're no longer offering summer academy, obviously we don't have the need to have nurses at those buildings. That's now reflected in this budget. That's why you see the reduction there. On that particular line, overall, we're estimating, based on what we think the payroll will be, basically an $1,100 increase, or 0.36%. Now, as we move through some of these, like I said, nominal increases or decreases, really nothing to report on CMC. In fact, it's flat. The district-wide data essentially is flat. It shows a 48% increase, but it's a $119 change from last year. And then on our adult ed, the contractual line, we're reflecting a roughly $2,700 increase. That's for the printing costs for the brochure. We want to make sure we cover those increases on that line. And that's small. That's only about a 1.3% increase there. So now this is what I mentioned earlier with the instructional services. You'll see at the bottom, it's $183,000 to the negative. But the big driver on this is the 186 that we pulled out of this from last year. Now that's been spread across all the different academic areas, the different departments that I showed you on the previous slides. But it does show nonetheless a 12% decrease on this particular budget area. Moving now to PPS. I actually realized after we printed this and did this, the line above that should have been highlighted, the $3 million line with a $303,000 increase. There's a couple of prof and tech codes, but it really should be the one above that. But nonetheless, what we wanted to show there is, this is one we've also talked about in previous years. Dr. Lucas realizes that, we're seeing more and more students that require psychiatric evaluations. One of the things that she's looking to do is not just meet their behavioral and their mental health needs, but also to partner with a doctor who can conduct in-district meetings to facilitate that, improve access for our parents and our students. This code also supports one-to-one nursing services for our medically fragile students, both in-district and in our out-of-district placements. But then as you read below, you'll see a almost $155,000 decrease on the tuition line for education. And that's another savings that's attributed to the decline in number of students in private placements by bringing more students back, keeping them within the district. So Dr. Lucas, well done. There's no notable change on the psych services line. And in the attendance area, it's a small decrease of $500. And then wrapping up is with BOCES. A couple of slides here on BOCES. So I want you to call your attention just to some of the more prominent codes. But on the telephone service, we're looking at a maybe $20,000 decrease because we switched most of our telephone lines over to LightPath. We have now a few POTS lines in the buildings. On our data processing line, we do have an increase there of $42,000. That's primarily due to our new copier lease, and then our projections of the number of color prints that we think will be needed. And Ms. Simonello looks at the data over the last few years in order to make that determination. That's why you see that increase there of the 24%. Moving now to ROTC, we have like a nearly $54,000 increase there. You know, now we're seeing this program gaining traction and increasing popularity. So we're going to see an increase in our costs on that line. We all remember where that was, not even just 5, 6, 7 years ago. So this is a welcome addition, I believe. On our special ed tuition line, again, Dr. Lucas, this is another decrease that she's forecasting that's attributed to the reduction number of students attending outside programs. So, you know, programs that we have in-house, like our EASE program, they've been very successful to keep our students in-house. And the more we can service them in-house, whether they be on our special education side, CTE side, whatever we can do to educate them here, we're certainly going to enjoy those kinds of savings. So we're looking at potentially a $200,000 savings on that line.
Frank?
Yes.
What are our numbers like this year for outplacement, CTE, and where are we in that rolling percentage of?
For CTE?
Yeah.
Okay, that's on the next slide, I believe. That's this one on the occupational education slide. Is that what you're referring to? Not special ed, you're referring to OC-Ed? Right, with regard to CT, is that what you said?
Yeah, like what is it per pupil this year? Like it was 14.7 and it was 15.2.
Oh, I don't know the number of that, but I do know, we have that data. I can get that to you.
And where are
unless-
we on that? Are we paying for more students than we're sending?
Yeah, right. So we're
Thank-
benefiting now. That's a great question. So we're seeing a reduction because now we're taking advantage of that rolling 3-year average. So now we're down to 51, I believe. Does that sound right? 51 or 55. But we were upwards of almost 80, I think, 3 years ago. And, you know, Ms. Kennedy and I were fighting with them because we didn't even have that many seats in the program. I think we had maybe 50 seats in the program, yet we were paying for that because of that rolling average. Now we're benefiting from
Okay,
that.
so we're
We'll get you the
benefiting.
other numbers on the rates for
So
sure.
it's
Yes. We talked about this. We saw this coming down the pike, and we knew we had to wait our turn, but now we're benefiting from those lower numbers. Mhm. Two or 3%. Yeah, we have. I think overall there wasn't an increase overall 2.38, if I'm not mistaken. It's in a range.
I don't know, I have 12 of them in my class this year as opposed to 5, so they're all coming to my class.
Then moving down to the bottom of the page, you'll see an increase there on our handicap transportation, similar to what we've seen in previous years. We're watching this, but this is attributable to more students requiring specialized transportation that we need, and so we need to certainly reflect that in the budget. But the grand total for all areas, right as of right now, what we're looking at for BOCES is just about $58,000, or 0.35% for an increase. So here's the proposed budget information for all the areas that we covered this evening. I know it's a lot of data, a lot of numbers. As a reminder, this will be on the website starting tomorrow for you, but it's very impressive when you look at this. We're looking at basically just over $29 million for all of these areas, and collectively, we're looking at a 1.44% increase. Again, attribute to these people here and the work that they've done. They really deserve a loud round of applause for their efforts. I'd say louder, but you know, that's just me. And the next budget presentation, as I mentioned, is March 30th. It is here in the auditorium at 8:30, and we're going to go through, like I said, staffing, fund balance analysis, grants, financial plan projections, and then we'll look to move to adopt later that evening board meeting. Finally, any other questions at all? And I can go to any slide if you'd like.
All right, so question, how many treadmills are we getting? So you said new treadmills at 4 buildings. So what, 4 buildings, and how many are we getting?
I thought I said it was 1 for each secondary building. Is that what I
One?
said, Mr. Krakow, correct? 1 at each.
We have 3, almost 4 treadmills that don't work at the high school.
Well, these are new.
No, I know these are new, but I'm just saying you already have 4 now, right? So if you have 30 kids on a track team and they can't run right now, and you only have 3 plus an assault, I'm saying that's not really replacing all the treadmills that are broken.
Well,
So we're only replacing 1 at 4 buildings, even though we have at least 2 or 3 that are not working.
So what I can tell you is this. I mean, certainly we're going to look to repair the ones that we have. But as you know, the budget will not be able to withstand the kinds of numbers that you're talking about. So anything that we do here each year is to look to bolster different departments as much as we can. You know, it's a give and take across all budget areas. Your point's not lost to me, because whenever I talk to people about this district, and I mean now globally, as how we can do things, we're always looking to do more with less because we've had to. And I mean that with all sincerity, because we are not going to be able to keep up with the Joneses as we see in other districts. So we're not a district that, for instance, goes out to bond every other year. That's not us. So we've got to be very intelligent with how we spend our monies, and address the different needs, whether they be instructional in terms of curriculum-based, in terms of equipment-based, as you're mentioning. That could be treadmills, that could be instruments, that could be copiers, or whether that be, for instance, the money that we're pouring into our facilities. I think you raise an excellent point in general, because we do need more money. We do need to up this. We've been forced to play this hand for a good number of years now. I really do commend the community for coming out and really supporting that bond, because it's enabled us to do something that we haven't done here in a long time. But if I'm being perfectly transparent, it was probably like a small drop in the bucket. It's what we need to do. Because I think, I hear what you're saying, our students deserve better, we deserve better, and it's certainly something that we're striving for. So when I talk about, increases or decreases, and when I talk to my colleagues about this, I want them to find ways to do the same or more with the funds that they're given. Because if the right approach is taken, it can be done. And to their credit, they're meeting me exactly what I asked them to be. And like I said, I really got to tip my hat to them. And then it goes to us. We've got to figure out how to do the rest. I would love to say we would do more, but I'm just being as honest as I can with you.
And then the second thing is,
Mhm.
when are we going out for the RFP? Or do we already go out for the RFP for the middle school trainer? That's not the same as the high school? If we
No,
use
so
the same?
yep, different. Yep. And
Oh, okay.
but we have the option to reissue again if we like. and we're looking at what we think the projections are going to be for that.
So is it going to be like the same one that we used for high school, or
we had
so two
Separate
different
than-
ones, different
separate
one for
than
the
high
high school and different one for the middle school?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
And it would be the same thing where they go to like all the games and stuff, or?
Well, with middle school now, you've got 3 buildings, so they're going to have
Correct.
to travel. That's one of the components of middle school.
Okay.
Because there could be events taking place at 2 different buildings. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
I just had a question about the 6th grade science program. Did you say we're going to pilot it, or it was piloted, or what?
I said, I called it, I used the term quasi-pilot.
Okay. What does that look like?
I can.
You want to speak that? Sure.
Sure. Yeah. So, and Dr. Daly's here, but we piloted this program this year. It's Savis Experience Science. The teachers need a little more time to see if this is truly what they want to go forward with. So, Dr. Daly was able to work with Savis and get a 1-year. Yep. And then if it's a program we decide to move forward with, we'll present to the board for adoption.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are AP texts covered in the textbooks, or are they like separate with the AP? Like, I just see 3 AP textbooks for one of my kids all over the house all the time. So she does have 3 texts for social studies, but are those covered in AP fees, or is that
Not
budgetary?
the AP testing fees.
No, the textbooks.
The
We have 3
textbooks.
separate textbooks that she uses for one class. Does that come out of the budgetary, like the book budget, or?
Yeah, out of textbooks for those particular areas. For those.
I'd like to thank you all for being so very, very, very careful with your budgets. Y'all are the ones with the degrees, and I trust y'all. But I might be misinterpreting this, but it feels to me like we are moving away from paper-based and maybe relying on the parents to print stuff out so that the kids can highlight stuff and learn differently, and moving more towards computer-based, which a lot of us don't read screens pretty well. I am all for teaching kids to use the computers and being excellent on them. But I'm personally concerned about paper, like we've talked about the novels, and the whole novel, not just a piece of the novel. It's my feedback. So am I misinterpreting this, that we're moving away from paper? Yeah?
I was going to say, we're following the trends in education. It's not like we're doing it to cut money. No, I'm asking, like, it's a trend in education. I think I have a question for Bernadette's benefit. So if we have students that need stuff printed out, we have the capability to print it out at school. It's not like we're asking, right, and we're not asking parents to print out at home. We can do it. Okay, I think that's what you needed to hear. Yeah. And not just the IEP kids, but the kids that just visually need that paper copy.
I just, and you don't have to answer this now, but I'd be curious, because it's been a long time since I've been in an elementary school classroom, how many hours or minutes that they're spending digitally compared to not. I'd just be curious to see what that is.
Any other questions? Yep. Yep. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Macy, for your humor, as always. So again, I also would like to thank all the directors and our building principals for being here this evening, all of our assistant principals. Certainly, your efforts do not go unnoticed. So thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to really support Frank, because he needs all the help he can. So thank you, Frank.
I'll make a motion to, I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:50.
Second.
Yep.
We're adjourning this. Are we going into executive session?